Westworld Season 3, Episode 5. Are they ripping off Watchmen? Let's jump into it.
It's always ripping off with you. Anyway, hey you guys, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. So, Westworld Season 3 has been a little bit of an up and down, for me at least. How's it? We haven't talked about this like probably 2 words before we started this. How's it feeling for you? So, give me your crazy theory that you talked about for a second.
Adrian Veidt. So, Serac is basically Adrian Veidt. Remember Adrian Veidt from Watchmen? He threw the squid on the world. He did like a bad thing to save the world. He thinks he's doing the right thing. He thinks his vision is the vision to save the world. That's his character. It's Serac, basically. Like, oh my gosh, this one human thinks he's the smartest human and he's going to save the human race, kind of thing.
But it is different because in Watchmen, if you guys haven't seen the Watchmen HBO Go series, it's really, really good. Probably of all the series we've reviewed so far, I think that's maybe our favorite, right? It was only one season, but really, really solid filmmaking. And but he thought he was intelligent by himself. This guy, Serac, whatever his name, thinks he's intelligent because of the data that he's being fed, right? So it's a different type of thing.
Yeah, but he thinks he's saving the planet by controlling people, by telling them what to believe. Adrian Veidt brainwashed all the people that saw the incident. Like, it's very similar to Watchmen kind of vibes. Called it. Okay.
So what do you think of the episode? Did you like the episode versus the other ones?
There was not my favorite Westworld episode for sure. I wasn't a fan of the drug.
Yeah.
The weird drug.
So as he was going through the only thing that I kind of found, so all the different music that it was going through was a little bit jarring for me, but every now and then I'm like, oh, that's, Flight of the Valkyries from Apocalypse Now. Oh, that's from this. Like, so, it's classical music, but it was also from movies. So I did, before they represented, that's genre. That's, different. You're going to go through 5-part movies. I'm like, oh, okay. But it was just weird. It took you out of it. And it was just, I thought it was going to be, it didn't really serve a purpose, right? It was just this thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Almost as like an entertainment thing, right? If you guys saw something else, let us know. But I kept thinking there was going to be a payoff with it, but it just came and went. It was just this odd thing.
Very odd. I think that threw off the pacing of the whole episode. And I was really bummed that Maze wasn't in it. Maze? I'm like, what was the point of her whole story arc last? Like, we didn't even get to see her in this episode, which is so weird.
Well, so this is the first season that they're being very sporadic in who they show when they show it, and to a certain extent, I like it because you're getting more time to develop those characters in that hour episode. But at the same time, I don't like it because you're going a week or two without, like, we went, what was it, 3 weeks at the beginning before we saw William, the Man in Black.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're not getting consistent time with those people, but when you do get time with them, you're hopefully getting more time. I did like the backstory of Serac. That's how I say it, Serac?
Yeah, I think so.
He's, again, I just like the actor, so I'm always biased with Ed Harris, Anthony Hopkins, and this guy. But I thought his backstory was really interesting, the reasons for him doing what he's doing. But we're kind of getting into what a lot of series and especially movies and sequels, it seems like happens a lot, where you introduce so many characters, you don't have time to develop the ones you already have. And I'm not saying there's too many here. We're getting a pretty good feel for everybody, but we have a lot of different people going on right now, for sure. And we're continually bringing back more and more from previous seasons, it seems like.
Do you think the other Doloreses are going to wake up?
I don't know. So I thought, so they're not like connected. So, right, they are their separate beings. They just have the same, whenever it was that Dolores cloned herself, or basically her mind, they have that same base, but their experiences, as far as I can tell from that, are branching out and they're having their own experiences. So they could grow into, so instead of Agent Smith was all the same Agent Smith, this could be where we have different Doloreses that arrive at different conclusions and different ideas, and maybe they conflict with one another. So yeah, that's a good point that I didn't really think about, but that could happen. Because the one guy who was talking to her, questioning that. Have you ever thought? Because it was the guy, the bearded dude, and he goes, "Have you ever questioned what she's having you do?" And he goes,
Bernard.
"Yeah." And she just, the guy just said, "Well, we all have our part to play." But he said, "Have you ever thought about what you're playing?" Yeah. So Bernard, you were saying, yeah. So sorry, you said you had something to.
Oh, who do you think the villain is?
Man, Man, the villain at this point is really hard to define, huh? I mean, I feel like Dolores is kind of the villain right now, but she's kind of playing both sides. I mean, she's definitely the biggest threat to everybody right now, but no one has clean intentions. Maeve doesn't have clean intentions. Dolores doesn't. Serac, he wanted to. They all think they're doing the right thing, and that's the fun of it. Is like in life, we all go through life thinking we're doing the right things, but we're not always doing the right things. So anyway, what about you? Who do you think's the villain?
I don't know. I'm kind
Which
of
is
excited.
fun. It's kind of fun when you don't have. Maybe there isn't a villain when you have this.
I think that's the idea. I think it's very
Yeah.
Watchmen-esque, where it's like everyone's doing what they think is right. You know what I mean? So therefore, it's like even if they are the villain, it's not like they're not a true Darth Vader villain or like the Man in Black kind of villain.
And that's what we're getting a lot more of in movies and TV and games. It used to be
gray
it's
area.
like it used to be Star Wars. You had the Empire and you had the Rebellion, but now it's completely different to where you have these people are doing what they think is right. They have the
I
reasons.
wish Star Wars would do that. I wish there was like a gray Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, like light and dark, but perfect balance. But that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. Let's not get Nick down that road. Yeah. but I do like that about shows. It's like, okay, there's no definite right or wrong. There's some people that do some jerkish things and some bad things, but at the same time, it's like, okay, do they have reasons for the things they're doing? And okay, they kind of make sense. And you don't always know that right away, but somewhere along the show, they kind of give you that backstory. Okay, this makes sense based on the context of what they're coming from.
And then what was up with the Caleb storyline? Like, who is he really? Like, did his memory get wiped or something? Like, what's happening with Caleb?
I mean, they kept flashing back to his military stuff. So I'm assuming that, remember he had that thing that she did that one time, was with in his teeth, right? Where they made where they amped up his heart rate, right? That was someone else. I'm assuming if they have control over his adrenaline and his heart and stuff, they have control over his memory. So he probably has some things suppressed that is probably going to come out. I don't know. I think aside from Serac, that guy's character, again, I'm always biased against the actors and actresses I like, but aside from him, I think Caleb probably has the best story arc going on. Bernard is great, but we're not getting very much Bernard. We're getting 2 minutes of Bernard per. They've almost written him out this season so far.
Maybe he'll have a big story at the end, like all the things he was doing in the back end and stuff. But one thing I want to say that was cool about this episode, the whole full story kind of thing, where Dolores released the robots, right? Like from their routines and tradition, and then now she did that for the humans. You know what I mean? Where this whole idea where she gave them full autonomy, even though I think they could have showed it more chaotic than it was. It felt like they had like 3 actors in the background that were throwing like break. It was like that's not how I think it was. I thought it would be like,
Well, that was 5 minutes later, and that's only from their small, unique perspective of the world, right? So I mean, imagine things would escalate a lot more quickly. But yeah, I did like that idea of drawing parallels between robots are just on routines; they're way different than us. But then actually, no, like in this world, they're kind of their fate's being dictated. But if you think about our world too, it's you have the potential to be a Bill Gates and rise up and go from nothing to being one of the most influential people around, or whoever you want to draw that parallel to. But the likelihood is the system has a way of keeping you basically in your role, and only over generations of people slowly working their way up can you really make a difference in your loop, basically. So it does do some cool things and hinting at our own reality for sure.
So do you think Serac is a real person?
Man, so if you guys go back 2 episodes, Nick first brought that theory in, and every time he's on screen, I'm trying to think, because still he's very rarely seen with actual other people. He's usually talking to something off screen, or he's Maeve, we don't know because she was already under his control one way or another before. He very well, I think maybe you might have gotten the big spoiler, figured it out. What was that episode? The first time we saw him, I think. So I think you may be right. I think he's not an actual person, but he was on a plane and things like that. So it seems like he does physically need to move around, but I don't know.
He finally spoke to Dolores, and it was after Dolores hacked his system. So it's like when Neo plugs in, he can communicate to, what I mean? Like that kind of thing, where I feel like Like it's weird, you know what I mean? Like the only way he can communicate is because she's in the system now.
If you ended up figuring this out that early on the season, I'm gonna be so proud of you. It's like you figured out, because they always have one huge twist per season. Basically, they had figuring out that William, the Man in Black, were the same guys. That was the big twist. That was amazing. And then then at the end of season 2, you had your big reveals. Like that would be the big reveals. Like this guy wasn't real to begin with, though they are giving him a backstory as he is a person. He's
So
a young boy,
maybe he
he's
was
growing.
a person, and then like Ford maybe uploaded himself into,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
So I wanted to ask you, so when he was a young man, like maybe like 20s, 30s or whatever, not Vincent Cassell, his actual grown self, that was just another actor that they got that resembled him, right? They didn't do any de-aging or anything on that, right?
No.
Which I like. You don't
actor.
always need the crazy de-aging
Cheaper.
and all the CG work. Yeah, well, and it fit perfectly fine. It fits
Yeah.
perfectly fine. Yeah, yeah.
What do you think overall?
You know what? So overall, this wasn't an episode I particularly loved. I felt like it was kind of jumping around the whole. And did you watch the behind the scenes and the preview for the next episode? So I guess Jonathan Nolan was wanting to mess around with the idea of that drug that took you through the different genres. So I can understand him wanting to explore that, where it's not like a drug. It's more of a mechanical drug, or but it just felt a little bit weird. I kept thinking there was going to be a reason for it, but there was never really a reason.
Yeah, I just think it didn't come off right.
Which is fine. I mean, one thing I do like in this and certain shows is they take chances. They try different things. And
it's fine to take a chance. But
yeah.
if I had to give this a rating, maybe 2.5.
I would say 2.5 or a 3. And that's not to say I didn't like it. It's just if this would have been the whole season so far, as far as episodes, it's like if you guys have seen the different episodes, like episode 1 and 2, I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But then it started getting better, and this one was. But that being said, I feel like a lot of this was setting up for maybe a bigger payoff in the next episode. That's an easy cop out for any episode, but
yeah, I think the thing that's keeping me going are my theories.
And it is fun to try and see that, see what comes about. And we are in a whole different sandbox of being in the real world for sure. And so if you guys didn't watch the preview for the next episode and you don't want to hear about that, maybe fast forward a minute or two. But so they were talking. So in the next episode, Maeve and Dolores are talking, and she's saying it's not right for everyone to have all this power. And Dolores is, like controlling everybody the way you can, So it's like, again, everybody has their perception of right and wrong, but it's just their perception.
We really haven't seen that power from Maze though lately. We
She
saw
did
a little bit with the guns.
She could control the gun hands,
but
yeah.
like not like when she was in Westworld.
Yeah. Well, but I like that because it was all AI mechanical stuff that she had power over in Westworld, and that shouldn't extend out in the real world aside from mechanical computer-based things. Of course, thankfully, we saw William.
Yeah.
So the Man in Black is going to be back, biting people's hands or whatever he's doing.
He's biting fingers.
Ed Harris, yes.
So I'm guessing she's morphing herself and Arnold, or Bernard with Arnold. Like she's morphing real people with robot memories.
Dolores, you mean?
Yeah.
Or Maeve?
Dolores. Right? That's what she's doing. Because like Arnold said, once you spend time thinking about someone else's life, you begin to rethink things differently.
Right. Yeah.
So he's obviously Arnold and Bernard right now. Well, but it's only the memories of Arnold which comes from Dolores and the conversations with Dolores probably. So it can be a twisted version of Arnold.
And we brought back our good cop, bad cop just for a very brief period of time, but you're right. He didn't die, which is cool. He's back. And but it was interesting. They were saying when the one bearded guy that was Dolores, right, a version of Dolores, he said, no, Bernard says, come with me. He goes, no, my role's filled. You're the only one we can't replace. So even Dolores in these other forms is still admitting like, hey, you're important beyond even another Dolores. So it's interesting. So I think that's going to be the big payoff, maybe not even in this season, but through the whole series. Like what's Bernard's main purpose, outside of all this?
What if that's something to do with the code? Because if this is still Ford's master plan, and he wrote in the storyline or the code for this, right? Like all this was going to happen. He also wanted to protect Bernard with
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
how he had what's his name, the security guard, like watch over his whole like mission was to get Bernard off the island kind of thing to
Mm-hmm.
protect him. So maybe this is also Ford behind the strings kind of thing.
But you got to remember that Dolores made some changes to Bernard's code as well, so it could be something that Dolores coded into him to do as well. So it's really hard. The good thing is they've set themselves up with enough strands they could go in any direction they want.
Yeah.
The downside is it's like they can, they can basically do whatever they want. But it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. Yeah, not my favorite episode, but I am looking forward to the next episode because I'm seeing Maeve's going to be back. My favorite, the Man in Black, Ed Harris is going to be back, and seeing him in a really rough situation. He's always been in a privileged situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's in, basically in a crazy house, in an insane asylum.
That's him though. He likes that, right? He likes to put himself in situations like that to
That's
fight
true,
his
yeah.
way out. I like.
Yeah.
Remember season 2? He was excited when the bulls were real. You know what I mean? Like surviving. I think he likes.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe he thrives in that kind of environment. So.
And it seems like they're still hinting at, because remember when Dolores was basically having him committed or making him feel like he was crazy, she says, "You've reached the center of the maze. You've reached the center of your maze or whatever." But he clearly hasn't. So he still has this journey that he's going on too. Again, the downside is that we have to wait 2-3 episodes or like 2 episodes before we get back to these characters. Like I've almost forgotten what happened with Maeve a little bit. I kind of remember, but I don't remember.
I think
as
the
well.
last thing she got stabbed.
Yeah, she did. She got stabbed. I remember that.
But and she faints after she gets stabbed, and then Dolores gets shot like 20 times, and she walks away just fine.
Yeah, I thought that was very. Breaking the rules of the world.
Well, because like
they still
in episode 1, right, or episode 1 or 2, she gets shot up and left for dead.
Yeah,
kind of thing. So
you're still supposed to be. I mean, they're very much killable. You could maybe turn off their pain receptors. That happened in an episode. But their motor functions would be affected like that. They still have muscle strands and everything underneath us, or underneath their skin. Underneath us, I'm not real. Underneath their skin. So they're still regular humans. So yeah, she wouldn't be able to function after that, and yet they still had her function. And then it's funny, the bullet went through her, and Caleb was standing behind her, but he still wasn't hit. I was just like, maybe it just was past him. I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe nothing's real. Maybe they're in a video game or.
Well, at this point, they could do whatever they want. I mean, I'm getting very much a Matrix 2 and 3 vibe out of this.
Well, I mean,
which is
technically,
fine.
Can't this be another land? Can't this be
it
like
could be.
future land or something like that? I don't know.
Real world land.
Real world.
Welcome to Blue Pill. But anyway, so it's been interesting. I don't have as many theories from this one. I'm kind of mainly looking forward to the next one and seeing if they're able to carry over these theories. The main thing for me is I like Serac's kind of background story. I like them giving him a background. He's not just this character anymore. But yeah, let us know what you guys. Any other things to add?
Oh, I love the David Bowie. This is ground control. I don't want to get copyrighted.
Oh man, yeah, don't sing it. We might get a copyright claim. But so anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Check out AsArt.space for all the audio podcasts. We're on Spotify and iTunes, and also video content as well, and anything else we might post on AsArt.space. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next AsArt.